tack. And I'm going to be speaking in English, despite the topic and everything. I think it will be overall smoother that way for everyone. But if you want to pose your questions in Swedish, that's totally fine. We can manage that as well. And now if I'm lost the voice? No? All set up? All right. All right, excellent. So my name is Heini Auvinen. I work at Fortum Hydro as an environmental specialist, and also this year product owner for project Digiriver, that is developing digital tools for data-driven environmental improvement measures. And this is an ongoing work that we have currently, and so there will not be any ready results as such today, but more like a preview or an overview on our work so far and the approach that we are taking to well, not maybe digitalization as such, but at least towards there anyway. And feel free to pop in your questions in the chat or contact me afterwards if you have something in mind. All right. So at Fortum, we are working towards a cleaner world, and we want to drive the development of energy system towards more efficient and smart solutions. The main drivers for this change are climate and environment, politics and regulation, and technology development. So these are the main drivers on our road towards the future energy system, but also the key drivers for the current development work in our project Digiriver. And hydropower is really in the core of the Nordic energy system today and in the future. Securing efficient energy supply, balancing the grid with the ability to be flexible in different timescales. Flexibility, we find this increasingly important as it enables also the new renewable production forms entering the system and lowering CO2 emissions, which is, of course, a key mitigation measure for combating climate change and has impact on not only national, but also continental and even global level. And that's really what makes hydropower so interesting for me. It's really a key balancer with the global and big scale impacts, but at the same time, hydropower plants and dams have very local impacts on the environment and on the river system where they are present. The ability to regulate the river discharge impacts the hydrology. It provides protection from floods and droughts and has many times had an important role in the society developing around it, creating local history and cultural values. It also impacts the environment around the river system, like biodiversity that may differ due to different species being present in the river system and a different regulated hydrological regime. One important impact is also affecting endangered species, namely the Natura 2000 areas or habitats connected to aquatic habitats in the river system. So hydropower is the balancer for energy system and needed even more for that effect in the future. And understanding the different aspects, impacts and scale is really important for balancing them, but feels sometimes quite challenging to evaluate or compare between these different aspects. And in recent years, a lot of effort has been put into working with these aspects and gaining more information on them. Most recently, a process has been initiated to retrial and review all hydropower plants for their environmental conditions and obligations in an effort to affect this balance and improve it. You may have heard of the NAP, the National Plan for Modern Environmental Conditions. The official decision came in June this year and started the process more concretely, but the background work has been ongoing for 10, maybe 20 years already, leading up to this point. The National Plan for Modern Environmental Conditions includes more than 3,000 hydropower plants and dams that will go through this retrialing or review process during the next 20 years. The official starting point was June 20th this year, but of course the background work has been there for a long time already. The main goal for this work is the balancing of environmental and energy values, but taking into account the local values and societal values that the long-term existing hydropower has had in the society growing near it. Also, limits have been set in the process, namely 1.5 terawatt hours or 2.3% on production impact and losses. And this is something that will be affecting the industry for at least the next 20 years and means really hard work for everyone involved to arrive at the best possible outcome. And this process will go through trial groups. There are over 200 of them. And although 20 years from now may seem like a distant future, actually the first power plants are set to start in the process already 2022, so in 2 years actually. Currently, we are faced with quite many challenges in the NAP process. On one hand, we have the targets that should be met, both on the energy system side, energy system services, and for the environmental aspects. On the other hand, we have limits to how much production impact and losses can be accepted compared to current status. So we can't really afford to lose or waste any of the 1.5 terawatt hours on measures that are not efficient, that don't contribute towards the improvement in environmental targets. So how to then arrive in a balance that utilizes efficient solutions? It's clear that there's need for new tools to solve the challenges and to be successful in this work. We need to think in a new way on many aspects, fill in data gaps, make right choices for efficient measures. One part of the toolbox is based on hydraulic modeling, existing and proven tech as such, but now developed more systematically in the framework of environmental improvements evaluation. And the eco-hydraulic approach that we're using is something that we have been working on for quite many years now at Fortum. Our senior modeler Markku Lahti has done his PhD on eco-hydraulic 2D modeling some years back, and we have used these methods in different design and analysis projects successfully over the years. And we find that the hydraulic modeling plus the ecological modules fit very well in evaluating river regulation changes or impacts, as those most often impact exactly the two main variables, water depth and velocity in the river. Within last 5 years, we have gained some really good experiences in utilizing eco-hydraulic modeling results also in court hearings and processes. And we really see that there's potential there to also support us with the upcoming NAP processes. And in the current project, we are working on 4 different aspects or areas of eco-hydraulic modeling. First of all, hydraulic models, their connectivity, coverage, and spatial scalability from river level to the tiny detail measures level. Then secondly, the biological data, adding additional variables and more species in the data bank, so to speak, and new methods for analyzing habitat suitability through that. Then there's different time scales we need to be able to analyze, from seasonal to very short term, and then some phenomena lapse over even decades. So there's really different time spans in the models. Then fourth, but not the least, area of interest is the population impacts. And there we're especially interested in the mesohabitat availability and quality, how to analyze that. So outside the immediate model area, and possible bottlenecks in the system for population impacts. For NAP process, we want to take a data-driven approach, improve data availability, identify gaps we have in the information currently, and eventually, of course, then try to fill in those gaps as well. We want to have a river system scale and be able to communicate measurable effects with understandable and comparable results. And the overall goal in the work is to have a balanced hydropowered energy system of the future with the best possible combination of effective and sustainable environmental improvements in place. And while we are having the river scale view on an overview level, it's really important to also take into account the local conditions. Those make all the difference in making really effective measures and securing that the targeted improvements are actually realized with our actions. So in other words, the data-driven approach should enable us to really change where it matters most. And the work here has started this year and currently ongoing in our first pilot group. As I mentioned in the beginning, I don't really have any concrete examples or results to share yet, but hopefully after a couple of years into the process, I will be able to come back with more concrete examples of where this approach has led us. And yeah, to close up, I would like to thank you all for this opportunity, for listening. And I don't know if there are any questions in the chat, or you can just email me with the questions later if you have something specific. Now, we have our team, some resources internally at Fortum working also in this field, but it's always really nice to keep track of the related research and new development that's ongoing. So that's why I'm super happy to be here today and also listen to the following presentations with really exciting topics and new developments. Thank you.
Tack så mycket Heini. Vi har fått in en fråga i chatten. Passa på att fylla på fler. Stina har en fråga som heter: vilka behov ser ni av forskning och teknikutveckling för att underlätta och förbättra denna typ av modeller och analyser? Du får svara på engelska och säga om jag ska säga det.
Okej, jag tar det på engelska. Now I'm mixing the languages. I'm starting to have think in Swedish. Okay, but let's stick with the English anyway here. It's really the key needs and the development issues are related to data availability with us at the moment. And that's what we're really working on to improve next. Other than that, there's a ton of new possibilities with the kind of digital tools in place. I'm not the expert in that so much. I'm more kind of background in the hydraulic modeling and the GIS part. So that's kind of more already existing tech that we're applying in this work. But yeah, should I say? What is really interesting new development for me is the kind of deep learning and automation, which is kind of the next step, maybe not really yet applicable, but getting there. And it's interesting work for me as kind of coming from hydro industry. It's hydro is not natively digital, and neither am I. I'm kind of the generation that's not natively friends with any digital tools, and I feel that kind of I share that with hydro. We if we do something digital, it's building on top of the existing and kind of trusted tech that exists, and you kind of it's really good with the experimenting and trying out new ways of working, but of course first securing that the base is intact and working. That's really the order for me.
Okej, tack så mycket Heini.